Well, the Premier League season is over, and now unfortunately for me that means it's time to take a look back, remember what happened before, and let's have a look at those Premier League predictions that I did all the way back in August. So we're going to go back and look at what happened before. I am blind reacting, I don't remember all of these. I do remember there are a lot of howlers. I can remember, I know there is one position I've gotten spot on that was a bit of a wild shout. Everything else though I'm pretty sure is pretty terrible. Is really terrible. So let's have a look through it and let's get started with 20th place, which I remember who I've put there.
I'm going to just say a blanket statement. I don't think the team that finishes bottom will be quite as bad as Southampton last year. I don't think there's going to be any threat or challenge on Derby's record this year.
So we haven't even got to who is 20th, but ultimately that is wrong. Wolves, I mean, towards the end of the season, obviously Wolves recovered and eventually they almost didn't finish bottom. But if we're talking, that has been saved so much by Rob Edwards, that statement alone, because ultimately Wolves in the second half of the season were nowhere near as bad as Southampton last year. However, Wolves in the first half of the season is genuinely one of the worst Premier League teams of all time. Or definitely worse than Southampton, going bar for bar with Derby. So that is a half-right statement. So let's keep going. Let's see who I've put 20th.
So, having said that, I'm going to start off and say Leeds. Leeds United, that's who I've gone with at 20th place. I think they've just been very lacklustre in their transfer so much. Sure, they won the championship, but I feel like a championship winning team, even a team that steamrolls the championship, is not good enough. Like, we saw all the championship teams from last season come up and go back. You need to make lots of transfers, and the transfers that they have made are just so underwhelming. Their marquee signing is Sean Longstaff.
And we're going to cut it there. Their marquee signing, I mean, it was their most expensive signing in the end, but I think so. I haven't double-checked that. Obviously, this was before the window was wrapped up, but it was Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who I think I mentioned there, or I mentioned a bit later, who was incredible for them. He was incredible for them. He got double-digit goals. He was good enough. It was an amazing pickup on a free, and that championship-winning side was good enough. The championship teams that came up last year were nowhere as near as the ones that came up the year before, which is what I was basing it a lot of previously. That is a bad shout. That is a bad shout, though. Leeds United in 20th is a bad shout. Because ultimately, they finished in 14th, and at no point, except for maybe the first 6 games of the season, was anyone really thinking they're in the relegation fight, they could really go down. No, they were quite decent, and they finished 14th in the end, and that is an example of a bad shout.
19th, and this could be unpopular, and I see
not a good start.
Vehemently disagreeing, and also people who agree with me in this one, and it's Wolves. It's Wolverhampton Wanderers, who I have going down in 19th place. They were already on their way down and already
unpopular,
just going down the table. They've been fighting for Europe in past, and now they're bogged down all the way. I mean, last season, what was it? Was it 16th? Yeah, I think they're just above us. It was crazy. Like,
So, obviously, I thought it was going to be an unpopular opinion. I thought maybe it won't happen. But I guess I had the foresight. In my head, it was an unpopular opinion. But there were people thinking that they were going to go down. There were people who were seeing the writing on the wall, their recruitment, who they've lost, that they were going to go down. It was Mateus Cunha and Prey last season. So, I really should have thought that this was an unpopular opinion. Obviously, here, I have got it wrong. And so, I mean, I should have seen it, but I guess I've got it right. I've got it right that Wolves are going down. Obviously, I've not gotten their position right. But that's obviously a decent prediction. In my mind, it was an unpopular opinion because I'm still thinking Wolves. They're the team. They're the underdogs. They're the championship team that came up and fighting for Europe. You know, getting all the way up there. But no, they're just not that team anymore. And they're not that good anymore. So, next team. All right, we're going on to 18th now.
Okay, now moving up to 18th, but still relegated. I think this is probably going to be my most unpopular opinion. In the predictions, maybe. I think that's.
I mean, it was fine next last time when I said that.
And one I could definitely get wrong, and it's West Ham.
Oh! I'm going to stop you right there, Oliver. That is a bang-on prediction. I didn't realise I had 2 correct places here. Well, yeah, West Ham did go down. West Ham did go down, and they went down in 18th. Let's see what I said there.
And it's crazy for them to have gone from last season's transfer window where I had predicted them like 7th, 6th, up there. I thought they were going to do so phenomenally well. And then they finished 15th, maybe 14th. And it was all kind of close towards the end.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not really talking about what's going on there. I'm just talking about vibes mostly and where they finished last season. And yeah, their recruitment on the face of it is just, it's so hit and miss in reality. And on the face of it last season, it looked quite good. And to this season, they didn't really get, they got, who was it, Tati, whatever his name is, in the January window, who was really good for them and helped them get back on track. But they started the season horrendously, and it looked like I was going to get this prediction wrong because they were going to finish even lower. But even in the end, it was 18th, and that is a spot-on prediction. Now let's see who I had as 17th, who was obviously Spurs in the end, which I did not see coming, let me tell you.
Now we're moving up into 17th, into just surviving. And I think these guys might still get relegated. I wouldn't be shocked. It's Sunderland. They just squeezed into the Premier League. We're moving up to 16th, and here we have...
Okay, I've already skipped on. That was pretty fast. I think on the face of it, that's not a terrible prediction because I know there were so many people saying that they would go down. So I think lots of people have got this wrong, but I've got it less wrong than most people. I think it was unpopular at the time to tip them to stay up. And in the end, obviously, they've got Europa League, which is crazy that they've done that straight up from the Championship. So I'm going to give myself a lot of slack on that one because I think that isn't a terrible shout. When you're looking at everything, and I think it's better than most people were giving them credit for. So don't feel too terrible at that one. Moving on to 16th.
Moving up to 16th, and here we have the final newly promoted team, and it's Burnley. I think they've had a really, really good window. Something like Marcus Edwards, for example, who I think would do really well. I think he's a great player, and I think because of that, they'll just about survive in 16th. I mean, maybe they could go down. Maybe I could be completely off the money with this, but I think they have had a great window that could prop them up and keep them up.
Well, I really underestimated how past it Carl Walker was, and I very much overestimated Marcus Edwards. I thought he'd be much better than he really was. He was pretty ineffectual, and they were shit. And in the end, they almost went down in bottom. They were almost the worst team in the Premier League. They were almost somehow worse than Wolves, and just about pulled it back on the final day. At one point of the final day, they were bottom. So that is a pretty bad shout. Moving on to 15th.
Now, 15th, I've gone Brentford. They've lost Frank, they've lost Mbuemo, they look like they're losing Visser, they've lost Nordegaard. I don't think I need to say any more. I think they could even go and get relegated. The only reason I have them at 15th and not probably 17th or 18th is the fact that they signed Kelleher, who I think is a phenomenal keeper, who I think is going to do some heavy lifting for them this season.
Well, Kelleher was amazing. Kelleher was really good for them and did help them in their push for Europe, because they did push for Europe. I'm going to be quite honest, I did not see Igor Thiago going on and being one of the best Premier League strikers this season. I did not see Igor Thiago scoring, what was it in the end, 24 goals? I'm sorry. I mean, most people didn't see it either. Most people didn't even see it happen because he did it all at 3 o'clock when the fucking blackout is on. I mean, I think a lot of people thought that Brentford were going to do badly this season. And in the end, they finished, what was it, 9th? Yeah, they finished 9th. They finished 9th at the end of it. And yeah, it was a really good season for them. You have to say they were in the fight for Europe on the final day. I think they went into the final day in a European spot, and in the end lost out due to losing to or drawing to Liverpool. And yeah, I mean, they just went better than, it was just a bad shout. It was a bad shout. I completely underestimated them. Move on.
Moving up to 14th, and I think these guys could finish even lower. It's Fulham. They've made
Hold on. I think that one's spot on. Oh, no, it's not, because Leeds were... Where did Fulham finish? Yeah. Well, they finished 11th. That's not terrible. It's mid-table at the end of the day. That's what I had to say.
Signing? One, proper signing, and it's like a third-choice keeper? they'll struggle. They'll struggle for sure. I think the players that they already have will help them play. The likes of Anthony Robinson, for example, will help them not be a complete car crash. But I think even from this point, even I have them at 14th. I think even here, I think they might get relegated. But I ultimately I think they won't because I put them 14th. I don't think they are in the 3 worst teams in this Premier League season, but they'll struggle for sure.
Okay, so that's a bad shout. That's what that is. That's a bad shout. That is a bad shout. Because obviously it was wrong, and they finished higher. They finished in 11th, and I was thinking, I think I've overestimated them here. And I hadn't. I'd underestimated them in the end, which if you told me then, probably would have been quite shocked. Let's move on.
To 13th, and it's Newcastle. And at the end of last Premier League season, the beginning of this...
So they finished 12th. So that's 1 spot off. I'm very happy with that one. These aren't looking as bad as I thought they were going to be. Let's see what I said.
Like before the transfer window opened, I would have like never predicted them this low. I would have never thought that they could fall off this quickly, this badly. But they've signed Anthony Elanga, and they've lost out on everyone else. They've lost out on Trafford. They've lost out on Ekitike. They've lost out on so many people that they're trying to sign. They've lost out on Shesko. And new developers seem like they might not lose Isaac. But even then, I think they are going to lose Isaac. And I think even if he stays, he's going to be so incredibly demotivated. And the morale's going to be awful if he stays, honestly. I think it's worth it at this point to just let him go.
Well, Isak did go in the end, and he had a pretty shit season at Liverpool, mainly because he didn't have a pre-season, and he broke his fucking leg. So, I mean, yeah, everything I was saying about Newcastle was right there. They were in a bit of a free fall there, and I got it right in the end. So, happy with that prediction. Well, I didn't get it right. Exactly, off by 1, that's pretty good for me.
Alright, sorry for the mic quality before then. I've just realised I had the wrong mic plugged in. Now let's move on to 12th. 12th, Palace. 12th, 50-ish points. I don't think I need to say anymore. Predicted them 12th last season, even though people had them going much higher. You know what happened? I said 12th and 50-ish points. They finished with 12th and 50-ish points. Well, no. This time, the trend did not continue. They were worse. They finished in 15th in the end. And most of that was mostly down to them focusing on the Conference League, to the dismay of me. And they finished 15th in the end. They were winless in their last 5 league games, which, if they'd won 1 or 2 of them, they would have finished around 12. They were only 4 points off 12. 12th was not 50-ish points, though, this year. It was 49. It was Newcastle. So, yeah, I don't really have much to say there. I was just going off specifically vibes. So, let's move on and see where I've put in 11th. I know it was going to be wrong because I said Fulham earlier, who did finish 11th. Let's see who I've put in 11th. Moving on to 11th, and I definitely think these guys could do worse, but we'll see how it goes. I've gone with 11th, I've gone with Nottingham Forest, and I hope they do worse. I hope these guys get relegated. I honestly hope they get relegated. I hope Marinakis dies. Well, they did worse. So, there you go. Happy days, Oliver. This was fresh off the back of the Morgan Gibbs White news, so please forgive the vitriol that I have there for Mr. Marinakis. Yeah, Nottingham Forest, after the fall-off at the end of last season, I really thought this season, you're not going to do very well. And I was right, but I didn't think it'd be quite as bad as it eventually ended up being. So, yeah, it's not a great prediction. It's really not a good prediction, but it's not terrible. I know there's worse to come. 10th. Let's go. 10th, and it's another team that I hope do a lot worse, and it's Everton. 10th, because I think they've had a decent window. They've signed Alcaraz, who looks like a decent wonder kid, and also Dewsbury Hall from Chelsea, which I think went a bit under the radar, but I saw it when I was looking through those transfers. And I think these are some alright signings. I think they're going to have a decent... Well, I've overestimated them. They finished in 13th in the end, so past Oliver, once again, you'll be happy that they did worse than you thought. I have no reason for hating Everton. It's just a vibes thing. I don't like Everton. That's it. But I thought they did some decent business. I thought the signings, the likes of Alcaraz and Dewsbury Hall, would be enough to propel them forward. But in the end, it wasn't. It wasn't, and they got 13th. Although it was really tight up there. Everton, for a long time, were in the running for Europe, but in the end missed out. So, moving on. Into 9th, and I'm going with United. I think they've improved a lot, but at the moment, it's really not clicked. We've seen it in the games they've played in pre-season.
Wait!
They've got Mbuemo, they've got Cunha, they've got Šeško now as well, who I think this could be a great front line, but I don't think they're going to click for a while. And if they do click, I think we'll see a great run of form with them, a really great run of form with them. But I just don't think they're going to click, at least for a while. And if they don't click at all, they're going to be in great trouble. Well, I said it. I said if that front line clicks, they would do so well. They'd get a great run of form, and they did. They did. Towards the end of the season, they were so good. The main inciting incident was Michael Carrick, who really put them together and put Kobbie Mainoo up there, made sure that he was playing at his best, you know. So I was so close to understanding where they could finish, but at the time as well, I am wrestling thinking, where are Tottenham going to finish? Tottenham are going to be up in this mix. I did realise that United were going to do much better than the season prior, which they did. They did a lot better. 9th would have been better. 3rd, also a lot better. I mean, they were the last team to be eliminated out of the title race other than the front running too. They had a great season in the end. I mean, if they'd kept Amorim the whole way through, that would have probably been spot on. But Michael Carrick came in and he saw the potential. What I saw, that if those players could click, if those players could play well, then they'd probably be in for a really good time. But I didn't think it was going to happen, but it did. Into 8th, and what could be a European spot, but I'm not putting it in this leaderboard as a European spot because it's not guaranteed to be a European spot. I've gone with Brighton. They didn't seem to have signed anyone big. Oh yes! That's another spot on prediction! And it was Europe, it was Conference League. Let's see what I had to say. Brighton, they signed a bunch of randos who could turn out to be the next fucking best player in the world. I mean, there's just no knowing. They sold Estupiñán, they sold João Pedro, but I just trust in their recruitment process, and I think they'll go up to 8th. They could go a lot worse than that. They could definitely go a lot worse than that, but I'm just going to go with 8th from now, which is, I believe, the same as they finished last season. It was where they finished last season, and I correctly predicted that they would maintain that course. And in the end, they finished 8th. And that is another spot on prediction. That is 2 spot on predictions, and I know there's another one to come. So I'm looking forward to that. Obviously, they lost João Pedro, which is a big strike, but in the end, they saw it through. Bunch of randos, as per usual, trusting in Brighton's recruitment process. It's just a recipe that never fails, isn't it? Now, we're moving up to 7th, where Sunderland ended up finishing. We already know where I put them. 17th, I added a 1 onto that, so let's see who I actually went with here. It's Villa. They've had a complete nothing window, but I think their squad is probably big enough. They've not really lost anyone. They've still got Ollie Watkins. I think they'll be good enough to just 7th. Europe. Well, their squad was by far good enough to actually get them somewhere, and they ended up finishing 4th. It was a great season for Aston Villa in the end that I did not see coming. They're in the Champions League once again after winning the Europa League, and I mean, Morgan Rogers I definitely did not rate as highly as I should have. And he was just such a big part of why they ended up finishing in 4th. And that is a wrong prediction, but that one's only wrong by 3. It's not terrible. So, yeah, I only got in the end, I only got the competition wrong by 1, because that would have been Europa League. They finished in the Champions League spots. So let's see who I put in 6th. 6th. And I have the biggest feeling that I'm going to regret this one. I have the biggest feeling that this is just going to be completely wrong, and I've gone with Bournemouth.
That's right.
And
I
it's
knew it,
only
but I
because
remembered
love
this
Antonio
one.
Raiola. I'm a Rayo.
I remember this one purely because I scrolled down into the comments right before I started this video and saw also Bournemouth 6 is a bit high, IMO. Something like 8 would be more appropriate. Where are you now? Speak now. I've responded. Speak now. And go to Iraola. Never doubt the man. Never doubt the man. Oh, I rate him so highly. Wherever he goes next, he will thrive. He thrived with Rayo. He thrived with Bournemouth. He is top manager. Bournemouth is sick. No one saw that coming. I did. And Donny did. That's what I had to say.
Fan, I love what he did for us. And I think he can lift this team, even having lost its entire defence. I trust that he can bring this team and keep on improving, because every season it's just our new best finish. I think he'll have another new best finish and bring the Cherries some Europe.
Well, there you go. No other reasoning needing. Just Ngoti Iraola, and that's all you need. Moving on to 5th.
Could be Champions League.
It was.
Or otherwise Europa League. And I've gone with my beloved Tottenham, which if you haven't gotten already, I feel like you probably should have from the Forest. I am a Tottenham fan. I'd love to put us higher than this. I definitely think we could finish a lot lower than this. I'm kind of working on the presumption
right
because I
there.
follow Tottenham transfers a lot more closely that we're definitely going to sign someone else. I think we're getting Eze. I'm hoping we're getting
Oh no! I can't watch it anymore. I can't watch it. Oh, but we ended up getting Javi Simmons, who was very good and then did his ACL. Eze ended up scoring the first North London derby hat-trick in Premier League history. But for Arsenal, I remember where I was when that news broke. I fell to my knees. That is one of the worst days of this season, and it was, I think, before we'd even kicked the ball. God, how I wish we'd gotten Eze. Absolute baller. I mean, Eze and Xavi could have been something special. Obviously, we were only getting one. I don't know which one I prefer, to be quite honest. I think they're quite level, but Xavi has shown his brilliance, but I feel like he's often wasted because we never have anyone to back him up. That's a side tangent. We finished 17th again. More than that, we were in a relegation fight until the final day of the season. So 5th is an awful shout. I really don't want to dwell on that anymore because that was so miserable. Let's just move on. 4th place.
And in 4th, I think these guys are finally going to break their streak of just finishing 2nd every year. We finished 4th instead. It's Arsenal. Sadly, I think St. Tottenham Day is going to happen again this year. But I think it's definitely going to be a disappointment for them. They've got Gyökeres, fine. They've got a new striker. But I think the other teams have improved way more and enough for them to be displaced down to 4th. I also don't think Gyökeres is looking too great. I've heard people saying he looked alright, and then I've also seen the stats where I've also seen people saying he's been awful and his stats aren't great. I think he finally scored in a preseason game the other day, but I don't think he's looking good at all. And I think he'll be alright.
Well, Gyökeres technically is one of the worst strikers I've ever seen, but he did end up scoring double digits. He was their top scorer in a sea of really low scorers. But that is, I think ultimately that is my worst prediction. And that is worse than the Spurs one. Jesus Christ. I thought I just said 2nd again. I said 4th. Oh, wow. That's pretty bad. I don't even want to go on that one anymore. Let's move on.
In 3rd, I've gone with City.
I didn't even get City right.
Last year I said I will always, every season,
Who have I put in
cannot
second?
see where I don't put City at 1st. I think they'll win every single league season that is.
Okay, I genuinely have no idea who I know I've put 1st, but I have no idea who's I've put in 2nd.
Which is
Who's left?
maybe.
Oh my god, I've just remembered who's left. Oh my god! I've just remembered who's left. Well, City, in the end, it was a terrible start to the season. Let's just cover that. Good January windows really saved their season and almost got them to a title. Didn't in the end. It was second, not third. Let's move on to second, because I just need to hear what I have to say. Second, and this will also inadvertently reveal who I've gone with first, and I've gone with second, Chelsea. I've gone Chelsea second. I don't think they're going quite as far as the title, but I think they're fresh off the back of winning the best glorified pre-season friendly tournament of all time, or post-season friendly tournament of all time. Their whole team seems to be clicking. They've got so many pieces in their team that do look rather excellent. And while I really enjoyed laughing at Chelsea during their long banter era, I think it's coming to a close at this point, and I think they're really going to challenge this year. Well, no, it didn't come to an end. They're still firmly a banter club. They finished in 10th. They're not even in Europe next season, and I said they'd finish second. Oh, the horror. That's on par with the Arsenal one. I can't lie. That is really close to the Arsenal one in terms of badness. I remembered these being really bad. I remember the ones at the start. I remember Leeds. I remember some of them weren't going to be good. I did not remember how atrocious this top four was. Well, Palmer ended up being injured for a lot of the season, and the rest of it just didn't click. Maresca left. Rosinha was a disaster. They've got Xabi Alonso next season. Let's see if he can fix it. Oh, wow. And let's move on to first, which, as we all know, will be Liverpool. Which most people said, but oh god. It's the only one left. It's Liverpool. And it's crazy, because this was already a great stacked team last season. And you know what they've gone and done? They've gone and they've really improved. They've got Ekatike, they've got an actual competent striker, and they might, I don't think they're going to anymore actually, and I'm kind of on the fence, they might be about to get an even better competent striker. Is he better?
The second best striker in the league, Isaac. They might be about to sign him. Like, they've signed Wirtz. He's a great midfielder. Didn't they also sign Frimpong? I think, let's be so for real. Let's be so for real right now. They're winning the league. And I think they're winning
They're really
not. I think they might win a Gotrubo. This is...
Okay, we're closing that. Video's done. Quadruple! They were knocked out by Palace in the Cup in the 4th round. They were battered by City in the FA Cup. And they finished 5th, which was that was an overachievement. When you really took a look at how they played, it was so much worse than last season. That was great. I really didn't see that coming. I should have seen that they really didn't strengthen in defence, and that really hurt them. And ultimately, they finished 5th. But there you have it. There were my Premier League predictions from the start of the season, and they were pretty bad. They were pretty bad. I think it's safe to say that they were pretty bad. Other than that, though, I've been Ollie Mudkip. Check out the links in the description: Discord, Twitter, and Twitch, where I stream about 3 times a week. Other than that, I've been Ollie Mudkip, and I'll see all of you next time. Goodbye.